And furthermore, speaking of right in front of our faces, I felt the need to, I mean, it's not really that long, but Mr. Irv Gotti also got into a sexual assault case. I figured, you know, since we got it, why don't we get into it? Why don't we get into it? Let's get on into this good old documentary, this old docket here. So this was filed on July 11th of this year in the Circuit Court of the 11th Judicial Circuit in and for Miami-Dade County, Florida. It says Jane Doe. I didn't want to say her release her real name yet. Irving Domingo Lorenzo Jr., aka Irv Gotti, the defendant. Says plaintiff Jane Doe, by and through her undersigned counsel, hereby states her complaint against defendant Irving Domingo Lorenzo Jr., aka Irv Gotti, for sexual assault and rape based upon personal knowledge and information and belief. Parties: Jane Doe, individual who was during the relevant time period of resident in Florida. Information: defendant, of course, Irv Gotti, American DJ, music producer, record executive, blah blah blah. Okay. Right. What is sexual assault at this point? My thoughts exactly. Jurisdiction and venue. This court has jurisdiction, because the amount in controversy exceeds. Okay, so let's just get down to statement of facts. All right. So Irv Gotti, through a mutual friend at a poker tournament in the summer of 2020, Gotti invited the plaintiff Jane Doe to go on a vacation with him to St. March. You just met the bitch and invited her to St. March. It's just that crazy with y'all rich and powerful dudes, yo. Met a chick, yo, let's go to St. March. Wow. To which she agreed. Shame on you. After flying her to St. Mark, Gotti coerced the plaintiff into having sex with him. Gotti specifically threatened plaintiff that he would send her home if she did not comply with her demands. Accordingly, and due to his power and influence in the music world, as she complied. So here we have another case to where someone is saying, yo, if you don't let me fuck, I'm going to send you home, this, that, and the third, with the threats. And because of the power that they actually have, the person just says, fuck it, I'll do what you say. I'll do what you say. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happened to me. You're rich and powerful. I can't tell anyone you're rich and powerful. Of course, I understand these girls were very scared back then in the day, so I'm not necessarily mocking that. But I am necessarily talking about the fact that you did have a choice in actually going on this trip. That I am going to say. Okay? So, following the trip to St. Martin, Gotti and plaintiff entered a relationship. So now you done made it a relationship where for 2 years, she's suffering constant abuse at Gotti's hands. Now, remember, this is back in 2022, right? 2022. So, this has been going on. This has been going on. Let me just move some things here real quick because I want to put something else into context as we try to here. And the fact that, like I said, this is 2022. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong here. All right, you know what? Do it like that since it's just trying to be a little irritating. Okay, so is he still? Yeah, okay. So he got divorced back in 2013. Irv Gotti being married while in love with Ashanti. Okay, so he's actually been divorced for quite some time now. He's pretty much been just living his life. But from what I heard, this is probably one of the reasons why The wife pretty much divorced him. She just got tired of this type of shit. So notably, in January 2022, Gotti flew the plaintiff out to Miami, and the two stayed the night at the Four Seasons Hotel. There, Gotti forced her to perform oral sex on him in the elevator. So, at what point right now are we talking about really forced here? If he's flying her out to St. Martin, he's flying her out to Miami. It's not like this girl on the first time is saying, all right, he forced me to do shit I didn't want to do. Let me not fuck with him no more. Let me not even go along. And so on the second time that you still go and you're not expected, you're saying to yourself you don't expect him to want anything. This is someone you knew from the get-go was, okay, he's one of those rich and powerful guys. If I don't do what he say, this, that, and the third, he's going to kick me out. And that's pretty much the extent of your threats. Now, he's going to beat me, not that your career's in the line, or he won't get you this deal necessarily. He's just going to kick you out if you don't do what he says. Let's just put that into context here. Okay, so later in the summer of that same year, he flew her out to Atlanta now. And he again forced her to have the oral sex on him in the Uber. Following this event, the relationship had ended finally. As a result of this sexually abusive relationship, she has suffered severe emotional and psychological harm for which she had to be committed to a psychiatric ward. These injuries continue to affect plaintiff to this day. Moreover, plaintiff has been made aware that Gotti is slandering her to his vast social network in and around LA. As a result, in addition to the severe emotional distress described above, the plaintiff now fears leaving her home. Cause of action is sexual assault and battery. Plaintiff realleges and incorporates the preceding paragraphs 1 through 5 as if fully set forth herein. Defendant's sexually offensive actions were conducted in his individual capacity and intended to cause a harmful or offensive contact with plaintiff. That's the loophole that they get you. So even though you say, let's see, for example, right? It's always tricky with these type of things. So conducted in his individual capacity, right? It's always tricky with this type of thing. Intended to cause harmful. So he flew her out. Once again, this is where I say she could have either refused to go or she could have just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go," type of thing. That's what we're talking about with whether this thing was conducted in his individual capacity and intended to cause a harmful or offensive contact with the plaintiff. He wasn't intending to cause anything. He just flew a chick out and expected her to just fuck him. That's the slippery slope on that number 17. A harmful, offensive, unprivileged, and unpermitted contact with plaintiff actually occurred as a result of defendant's intent. Not necessarily. Especially if you see, certain little things right there. It's not necessarily happening because of the defendant's intent. Remember, shit got flown out to 2 or 3 different places. Obviously, he likes you and likes what you do sexually to him. I'm just saying he wouldn't keep on asking for you to come and flying you out. The acts perpetrated by defendant against plaintiff were against plaintiff's will as a result of the egregious sexual conduct perpetrated by defendant against Irv Gotti. Irv Gotti has experienced and will continue to experience severe emotional anguish, pain, and suffering, and loss of the dignity and damages. Plaintiff accordingly demands attorney's fees and costs and compensatory damages in an amount of the debt determined at trial. So it's definitely going to trial here, of course. And there's a claim too here of the emotional distress, basically. So, like I said, you have to understand this, man. When it comes to this particular sexual assault case, you have to take this one with a grain of salt. Reason why I say that is because she got flown out, like I said, 3 different times on 3 different occasions. What it do, Fairy B? She got flown out on 3 different occasions, y'all. So for her to be for her to be flown out 3 different times, and you mean to tell me not one of them times you expecting to do something with him? And how are we even talking about force? See, here's where the harmful intent and the force gets kind of misconstrued, because it literally says that you guys entered a relationship for 2 years. So within that relationship, was this an abusive relationship? Was he hitting on you, doing other things, or was he just forcing you to have sex? And this is the thing where you kind of say to yourself, okay, forcing me to have sex. So any of the other times, it was nothing else. He wasn't beating on you. There's no evidence of him hitting you or nothing like that. No, nothing. Just nothing. Just the hearsay of the sexual misconduct. I'm just saying. It's just, that's funny as hell. Entitled. Yeah, other you said untitled for a second. But yes, very much so. Very much so. This is a sense of entitlement here. You seen that Diddy gave Cassie almost $50 million. So you said, let me cash in before it's too late. And everyone told him that's a bad idea. So I think that Irv Gotti should, just the same guy. Let me also, be clear here. Irv Gotti is the same guy to beat the feds before. Irv Gotti beat the feds. He's beaten the feds before, which is a very difficult thing to do. And YSL is going through the same thing right now. Young Thug is going through the same shit right now, fighting the feds. Irv Gotti's beating the feds. His lawyer is probably kicking his feet up, laughing his ass off at this particular case right here, because there's no real, like I said, I love the fact that women are speaking up for themselves nowadays and what happened in regards to that. But if we're reading this with, like I said, true brains here, that lawyer is pretty much having a field day with this one, unless there's some pretty much concrete evidence of other things happening with this sexual assault case. Just saying. Because this isn't enough. This isn't necessarily enough for Irv Gotti to go down. There really isn't much there. Message. My whole thing is, God bless the young woman. I really wish she would have put her name as well, so we can just, draw some type of conclusion to something. I was looking at the Drink Champs earlier, but that video, they cut at least an hour and a half out of it. Same thing with Swiss Beats. They cut at least 2 hours of it out because they had a lot of incriminating things in them. And I wish I'm going to try to pull it up one day, as far as if I have it on my old computer or something like that, to where, those interviews are not just lost in the archives forever. I definitely want people to be more informed with that. But, anywho.